Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and if the audio's not working on this one, so help me. But anyway, earlier this week, I was talking about how some Conservative MPs still think it's a good idea to go to war with the new President-elect of the United States. And in this video, I'm going to be discussing some of the Conservative MPs who seem to have rethought their antipathy towards Joe Biden, and discussing some of the reasons why this will make sense to them beyond the obvious one. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, Brexit, of course, pervades all aspects of Conservative politics and indeed has consumed a lot of UK politics as well. And it was said last year that in claiming to be all for Brexit, some Conservatives were mad, but some were just pretending. In other words, there are some Conservative MPs who understand reality, even though they try to persuade members of the public to believe in unicorns. And part of this understanding reality is recognising that the UK is at the moment pissing off both the EU and the US, and that means not only does our international standing diminish yet further, and it hasn't actually, as Sir John Major was talking about earlier this week, it hasn't actually been all that strong as some supporters may believe, for generations. And international standing aside, the lack of trade deals is going to cost businesses in Britain and hit the economy hard. And it's not like the economy's been buoyant during the last decade of Conservative rule. And the ones grounded in reality know that we can't simply not deal with the US and the EU. We can't just go, well, sod you then. You're not going with our Brexit mindset, so we'll just do without you. You know, over the next few years, no. They recognise that, you know, they are the ones in power. The Conservatives are the ones in power. Come the next general election, they'll have been in power for 14 years. Yes, of course, they'll still try and blame Labour for the mess the country will be in. But you know what? Every few years since the last Labour government, it becomes less and less likely that people are going to buy it, shall we say. Now, one such Conservative MP that's trying to pull back from this Biden baiting is Joy Morrissey, who deleted this tweet this week. Now, there's an interesting statement in there about the fact check. This was a common attack on Joe Biden from September and has been continuing since. This idea of you need to get your facts straight. They're not trying to say, well, we agree with this, you agree with that, we've got a difference of opinion. They're trying to say, you would agree with us too if only you got your facts straight. You don't seem to know what you're talking about, Joe, mate. You know, essentially, this is the way the Conservatives are attempting to play it. As I read it, this is how it's going to go. So US politicians, particularly President-elect Biden, will not agree to any international agreement that compromises the Good Friday Agreement. We have to bear in mind the United States is a guarantor of the Good Friday Agreement. This is not a party political issue in the United States. Republicans and Democrats are very much invested. Now, the Internal Market Bill in the UK breaches the Northern Ireland Protocol. There's no denial of that. And that was included in the withdrawal agreement specifically to preserve the Good Friday Agreement. That was the thing that was put in to let the EU sign off on it as, yes, this will preserve the Good Friday Agreement. It has literally no other purpose. It's there to deal with the complex issues of having two different customs territories in effectively the same country, the UK, so that the two parts of Ireland, which are actually currently two different countries, can behave as if they're not two different countries. This is why the concept of leaving the EU would be a mad idea for anyone, but was particularly improbable to survive a collision with reality in the case of the UK. We're complicated. In fact, so far down the rabbit hole of the Conservatives gone with this, they're even insisting that breaching the sections of the withdrawal agreement that exist specifically to maintain the integrity of the Good Friday Agreement. They're not just saying, no, it's not going to breach the Good Friday Agreement. They're actually somehow trying to say that it'll actually strengthen it. What? Now, to this end, they've called anyone daring to draw a link between breaching the withdrawal agreement and breaching the Good Friday Agreement as being ignorant of the facts and subject to left-wing propaganda or Irish propaganda or even EU propaganda, take your pick. Joe, mate, you're falling for the propaganda. That's the problem here. course, this included Joe Biden, at a time when it was believed that he had the best chance of winning this year's presidential election, at the point at which we weren't sure, but when he would still be the most likely. It's not like they were hedging the bets and just keeping quiet. No, they were going mad. Now, perhaps some of these Tory MPs were convinced that Trump would succeed in stealing the election. But even then, that wouldn't explain how they still thought they were going to get a US deal, with Congress blocking any deal that would screw Ireland over. And that's assuming that Trump himself would. We don't necessarily know that even if Trump could force it through Congress, which he could not, that he would wish to do so. But even those who will accept reality don't necessarily always understand the details. The strategy for the Conservatives, as far as I can tell, is as follows. And I warn you, it is, if true, quite insane and stands no chance of succeeding. So they wish to have frictionless trade between Britain and Northern Ireland. Boris Johnson promised that to the fanatical members of his parliamentary party, that would be the case. So he has to deliver the frictionless trade. Now, he also promised them, because they're all Brexit nutters, that we would diverge our customs arrangements. We wouldn't have the same customs arrangements as the EU. Again, he promised these same MPs the same thing there. There is only one way to achieve this, and that is a hard border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, which is a clear breach of the Good Friday Agreement. Because if you don't have a customs border at all, then you have no control of what comes into or out of the country. Never mind the fact that you'd be breaching World Trade Organization rules there. Just the very concept. If you don't maintain the border, you can't control what passes there. And this is maddening hypocrisy of Brexit. Above all other hypocrisies, this is the most maddening. They talk about taking control of our borders. They were doing it again this week, Priti Patel. We're taking control of our borders. And yet, they are proposing that we have no checks on one of those borders at all. How is zero checks taking control? But the plan would then be to sit back, having no control over this border, but somehow still ranting about borders, and watch the EU set up their own customs border, because they need to obey World Trade Organization. We might decide to be a pirate nation and ignore World Trade Organization rules. That will go very, very badly for us. But and it's not to do with what action the WTO will take. That's irrelevant. It's the action that China and the US will take against us unilaterally. But the EU, of course, will need to follow international rules because they value their treaties. And if the EU can't put the border where the withdrawal agreement says it should be, because it's inside the UK, so that would need the UK's cooperation. So the place it would have to go is where, for most countries in the world, it would go, is the frontier between the UK and the EU, which would be slap bang not right in the middle, but inside Ireland. Now, the government would then seek to blame the EU for breaching the Good Friday Agreement. Well, they're the ones who put the hard border there, not us. Now, the problem, actually there's many problems with this, is that only Brexit supporters in Britain could possibly buy this. It would risk the Irish peace process. It would be clear to all international observers who was actually at fault here, and it would make the UK a pariah state. And repercussions would follow. It's not just that we won't get trade deals with the EU or the US. That's obvious. That's a given. I'd be thinking we'll be kicked out of the G7. Pretty sure it'd be down to the G6. After all, Russia was kicked out of the G8 for not much worse behaviour. Possibly another dimension to the concept of Conservative MPs pulling back from their all-out attacks on Biden is looking at how the political wind may blow next year. Biden is going to be president, of course. And we're going to be badly exposed on the world stage if we can't do the one thing that Americans actually find us useful for, being a bridge between them and Europe. We've burnt the bridge between us and Europe. Obviously, Brexit has ripped that capability out of our toolkit. But Brexit is also going to see, I think, Conservative MPs needing a little bit of political agility. Quite a lot of MPs, potentially, but Conservative MPs in particular. Because we're lining ourselves up for a hard Brexit. We can't be absolutely certain yet until we are absolutely certain, but we're lining ourselves up for that. Some try to argue that Johnson will seek some sort of extension even at this late hour, but that's surely not feasible politically. He can't sell that to his backbenchers. Brexit border chaos has the possibility now not just to cause shortages of food and medicines, which would have been politically damaging enough for any Conservative MP, but as I talked about earlier this week, also problems in getting the COVID vaccine into the country. And then you've got a whole mess of Conservative MPs in Kent who will be getting extra special stick for the fact that the chaos will be largely centred in their county. Now, I'm not running away with any hopes here. I don't expect the Brexit scales to fall from everyone's eyes and for the whole country to wake out of this stupor and realise that Brexit was a crap idea implemented by crap people. But its popularity will, of course, take another little plummet. In addition, for reasons of Brexit or just general incompetence, whatever, Boris Johnson's not going to be hanging on throughout the rest of next year. I don't know when he's going to go. He can't last another year. It's very unlikely he'll even make it until summer, even though Dominic Cummings going may buy him a bit more time. So there will be a change of leadership. Now that gives the party a chance to reset, as they often do, as they've done multiple times in the last decade. They get to move on from the last mess and go, it's fine now, we've got a new leadership, it's all going to be grand, don't worry. Blame the outgoing administration for everything that's stuck to them. Try and deny what you can. Blame Labour for what you can. But, you know, what you can't evade, the responsibility you can't evade, you just pile it onto the last administration, and that means you have to change direction. Some MPs will, of course, doubtless wish to position themselves to take full advantage of this situation. So there it is. Those are my thoughts there on some of the political manoeuvring some Conservative MPs may need to be doing over the next few months. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.